Today's body cam footage captures a heated confrontation between police officers, security personnel, and a vocal First Amendment activist. Right from the beginning, the activist makes one thing clear. He believes the people involved have a constitutional right to remain where they are and protest. But here's the big question. Was he correctly asserting his rights, or were officers and security personnel legally enforcing restrictions on the property? As we break down this encounter, we'll examine the arguments being made, the tactics used by both sides, and whether the legal claims hold up under scrutiny.
No! That's a First Amendment right. I am? No. You're going to quit giving these people illegal orders is what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. No. You can have that sign here. You can. No. 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 She could protest right here. Anybody can. Anybody is allowed to protest here. Anybody is. Call TPD then, because none of you have legal authority for it. If you don't want them here, call TPD, and let's see if they remove them.
The encounter begins with the activist immediately rejecting authority. He says that's a First Amendment right. Almost immediately, he accuses the people confronting him of giving illegal orders. The central argument here is straightforward. He believes people have the constitutional right to protest in that location. He repeatedly tells officers and security personnel they lack the authority to remove protesters. One interesting tactic he's using is shifting the burden of proof. Instead of explaining why he's right, he repeatedly asks them to justify their actions legally. This is a common strategy among First Amendment auditors and civil rights activists. They're essentially saying if you're ordering someone to leave, tell us exactly what law gives you that power. At this point, nobody in the transcript provides a direct legal citation.
No, don't leave. No. No. No, no. She can. She can. She can. Under what law? Under what law? Under what law? What law? What statute? What statute are you referring to? What statute? What statute? See, stand up to them. Learn your rights, everybody. Learn the laws. Don't let these costume thugs push you around. That's right. I told you. I got you. I'm not afraid of them.
The activist then says, call TPD. He's essentially inviting the police to settle the dispute. His argument is that if local law enforcement believes the protesters are breaking the law, they can take action. Otherwise, he believes the orders being given are illegitimate. Notice another tactic here. He's trying to create accountability. By asking for official law enforcement intervention, he's forcing the issue into a legal framework instead of simply complying with verbal demands. Meanwhile, the officers remain relatively quiet, allowing the activist to dominate the conversation.
They're the ones with the guns and the bulletproof vests, and I'm standing here with a camera. Call TBD if you think I'm wrong. Go ahead. If not, quit giving people illegal orders. Quit violating the Constitution. Pushing women around. That's sad. That's sad that you're pushing women and little kids around. What thugs you guys are. Thugs.
This is probably the most important part of the interaction. The activist repeatedly asks, under what law? What statute? What statute are you referring to? He repeats these questions several times. This repetition serves two purposes. First, it's intended to pressure the officers into articulating their legal authority. Second, it's designed for the audience watching the encounter. If officers can't clearly explain their authority, viewers may question whether the orders are lawful. However, it's worth noting that officers don't always have to recite statutes during an encounter for their orders to be legally enforceable. Whether an order is lawful often depends on the specific circumstances and local laws.
In your favor.
You're supposed to be doing what I'm doing, standing up for these people, not pushing them around. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's why I'm yelling at you, because you're not.
Inside their rooms in the house, so they can't breathe. My children can't breathe while they're in school. They have ADD. They have enough things that they need to focus on. This is to not be one of them. What are you going to do? Because we're not going to stop. We're going to continue fighting this fight. Thank you. For starting.
Don't worry, bro. The feeling's mutual. Just stand there and mean mug me all day long. I don't care. I really don't.
The activist then changes his audience. Instead of speaking directly to the officers, he addresses everyone watching. He says, "Learn your rights, everybody. Learn the laws." This is a significant moment. The interaction becomes less about resolving the immediate dispute and more about public education and activism. He's attempting to empower bystanders to question authority and understand their constitutional protections. Whether people agree with his message or not, he's clearly trying to influence public perception. The language becomes much stronger. He calls the officers costumey thugs. He points out that they're armed while he's only holding a camera. He accuses them of violating the Constitution. These statements increase the emotional intensity of the encounter. From a tactical standpoint, insults rarely help de-escalate a situation. However, activists often use provocative language to challenge authority and draw attention to what they believe are abuses of power. Meanwhile, the officers continue exercising restraint by not engaging in a verbal argument. That decision likely prevents the situation from escalating further. The activist then makes another accusation. He says, "Quit pushing women around." He also mentions little children. This changes the focus of the confrontation. Instead of simply debating constitutional rights, he's now framing the officer's actions as morally wrong. This is another persuasive strategy. By highlighting vulnerable individuals, he's appealing to public sympathy. Without additional video context, it's difficult to determine exactly what physical interactions prompted these comments, but the accusation itself raises the emotional stakes significantly. The activist calls the officers thugs. Then he says something very revealing. "You're supposed to be doing what I'm doing. Standing up for these people." This statement helps explain his motivation. He sees himself as a defender of civil liberties. From his perspective, officers should be protecting citizens' rights rather than restricting them. Whether viewers agree with that assessment depends largely on the facts surrounding the protest and the location where it occurred. As the encounter winds down, the activist makes his position crystal clear. "What are you going to do? We're not going to stop. We're going to continue fighting this fight." This shows that the encounter isn't just about one incident. He views it as part of a larger movement. Activists often use these moments to reinforce commitment to their cause and encourage others to remain engaged. The officers, meanwhile, avoid escalating the confrontation despite the repeated verbal challenges. The final exchange is relatively simple. The activist tells an officer the feeling's mutual. He says, "Stand there and mean mug me all day long. I don't care." At this stage, the confrontation has become symbolic. Neither side appears willing to concede. The key takeaways from this body cam are, first, constitutional rights were the central issue being argued. Second, the activist consistently demanded that authority be backed by specific legal justification. Third, the encounter shows two very different approaches to public safety and civil liberties. The activist relied on public pressure, constitutional arguments, and persistent questioning. The officers relied largely on maintaining their position without engaging in a prolonged debate. Perhaps the biggest lesson from this footage is that understanding your rights and understanding the limits of those rights is essential. Constitutional protections like free speech and peaceful protest are fundamental, but how those rights apply can depend on factors, such as whether the property is public or private, local regulations, and the specific circumstances of the event. In the end, this body cam isn't just about one confrontation. It's about the ongoing tension between individual liberties and the authority of tasked with maintaining order, a balance that continues to generate debate across the country. What do you think? Was the activist correctly defending constitutional rights, or were the officers and security personnel acting within their legal authority? Share your thoughts below, and let's discuss the facts of the case.